Now comes the tricky part. You're going to start hooking things up to your shell. In this case, it's the Nerf Nite Finder. And I've already started hooking up power to here. You can see the red and the black wires that correspond to the laser tag board are where they should be on the battery door. Now, the reason I do power first is because this is pretty much the most crucial part of the blaster working. If there's no power into the blaster, it doesn't fire. It's just a fancy looking little plastic gun. So in order to test that and make sure that things are working from there, I have attached the battery door down here. It's a little tricky to do on the Nite Finder. It works better when both halves are together on this blaster, but because I'm working on the inside, I can't have both sides together. Come on, work with me. There we go. Alright, so we've got him there. Now we've got to test it. Make sure that your sound and your lights are still hooked up for the initial tests, because without those, you can't hear what's going wrong. Sounds like power is working. Got my light here. Let's try the reload button. Where is he? There he is. Reload button. Reload works. Trigger works. I got my light going off too. So everything's functioning right now. I could technically check and see if the IR is working. I can't really. Yeah, you can see a little blue light in there. So that's working too. Excellent. Gonna power down the blaster. Unhook the batteries, and now we're going to. I'm going to show you a little bit of some work that I had to do in order to make things fit. For instance, this trigger. This trigger is actually out of the Nite Finder itself. It's a leaf switch. What happens is this black piece comes in contact with the trigger and it activates the switch. This was located underneath the trigger assembly in here that once activated the Nite Finder laser bit. So I've rewired in this new trigger, and I had to use completely new wires because the old ones just weren't quite long enough. So you find that screw that held them in before, and now we're going to install that trigger switch. Part of what you're going to want to do while you're doing this is get used to testing out everything that you do. Because if something doesn't work and you find out later, it's a pain in the butt to have to go back and rehash things. So I've got my trigger switch in there. I'm going to actually reinstall the trigger that we'll be using, which is the Nite Finder's original trigger. Get the spring in there. Get the screw. I'm going to hook power back up and make sure that this trigger assembly still works. It looks like it's going to, but I'm going to check and make sure that I didn't screw up any of the wiring or that nothing came unhooked. You always want to backtrack with this stuff. Backtrack, backtrack, backtrack. Power. Reload. Trigger pull. Looks like and sounds like it's working perfectly. So you continue on with this process with hooking up your speaker if you replace a speaker like I did. If you have a new reload switch that you're going to use, everything up until this point is you're just going to want to backtrack and make sure that you know where everything is connecting. When you unhook a wire, you need to remember where to hook that back up, because if you put it in the wrong spot, you're going to cause a short and possibly damage the board. Especially if you're working with something more complicated than this, it's crucial that you keep track of those parts as you're installing this. I'm going to finish up installing and getting placement on the sound and the lens assembly, and I'm also going to eventually mount the board. The board's probably the last thing you want to mount because it's going to be the thing that you're likely going to be working off the most, because you need to solder things to it and remove things and stuff like that. So you want it to be, I mean, right now it's loose in approximately the place that I want it to be, but I won't completely mount it until I'm ready to close up the blaster, because I still want it to be able to move around, so that way if I need to get something on the other side, I can still flip it over. Alright, so I've come to the point where I need to actually do a rewiring, and I thought this one would be simple enough to show you guys. That reload switch that I was telling you about putting on the other side, I'm going to do that now. So here's the original reload switch. It's just sitting there on a board, little click there. It was designed to be actually pressed from a button on the outside, so it didn't look quite as ugly. But I don't really have that option now, so I'm going to wire in my own. And I'm using this guy. This is just a simple momentary push button that you can pick up from Radio Shack. I think they come in packs of 2, actually. Just any old button will do, but these ones are nice because you see that hex on there and the screw. They can actually, I drilled a hole through the shell to the size of the button, and then I put him through, and then I screwed on the top part there, and he's not going anywhere. He's nice and secure. So the 2 points on the back side there are going to be what I'm soldering to. So I'm going to take this guy. Once I get him, good old wire cutter slash stripper. You can pick this up at Walmart. They're pretty cheap. So going to cut him off there, and going to strip the ends of both of these wires. Now, a technique that I like to use to get these to be nice and strong holds is to actually hook the ends of these wires and then close them up. There. You can see that. Oh, there it is. There's a hook to it now. So what I'm going to do is going to hook. There's holes in the sides of each of these leads. And I'm just going to hook them through. And once I've got them through there, then I'm going to take something small, screwdriver works, and fold it in there. So that way it's already got a pretty good hold now. I'm going to put it in the position so that way when it's laying open, this is how it'll look. And get my solder out now. And come on, buddy. There we go, got a nice good coating on there. I don't think that's going anywhere. Gonna do the same thing obviously for the other wire. Hook him. Fold it up. And solder it up. Perfect. Now, as always, going to test it. Hook up my power again. Turn it on. Where's my switch? It's already depressed. Oh, this is interesting. I have to go back and find a different switch. That's a good point, actually. You're going to have to keep track of which way your momentary switches go. This one, when it's depressed, is actually connected. I can't fire right now. When I hold it down, then I can actually fire. I want that switch to work the opposite way, so I'm going to take him out and find the right type of switch.